Hello, my name's Richard Gill and welcome to this edition of Landmark Video News. June 2016 was a dramatic one with the Brexit vote, the resignation of the Prime Minister and the collapse of the Labour Party leadership. Business owners are currently taking stock and trying to work out what to make of these events and evaluate company strategies. To help us consider some of the issues arising, I'm delighted to be joined by one of the UK's best-known financial pundits, a director of Seven Investment Management and long-time friend to the flexible workspace industry, Justin Urquhart Stewart. Justin, thank you very much for joining me and welcome to the programme.
Pleasure, Richard.
I'd like to start by asking you a little bit about Brexit and the immediate aftermath. Section 50 notice, do you think it's going to be served or not?
It's all going to take some time. We've just started another chapter, haven't we? It's going to be fascinating. The global economy, remember, is still growing at 3%. Our economy is still growing, albeit slower. It's not stopping. So we have to...
I was going to say, do you see it slowing down a little bit?
It is slowing, but it was slowing beforehand. And we saw it slowing in some of the property markets. We saw it in some of the issues we've seen with some of the property funds shutting. People blame that on Brexit. That's rubbish. It was already occurring some months ago. But actually, you go around the country, you'll still find actually the economy has been growing, but it has now come back a bit. Consumer confidence has come back, and that means people are now just lacking a little bit confidence. But this is where we need to be careful. You need to keep the confidence going to keep the economy going.
Markets have been suffering some jitters over the last few weeks, as you'd expect in the immediate aftermath of what was an unexpected result. How do you see them reacting now? Because there sort of seems to be a 3-month, a 6-month, and then possibly even an 18-month to 2-year view emerging.
Well, certainly this is one of the issues we've had when you looked at Brexit. How did you actually manage portfolios during that time? Because one of the biggest variance was sterling, how that changed. So you had to manage that really very carefully indeed. And I'm pleased to say we got through that successfully. Now it's still a matter at the moment actually is very broad global diversification. And certainly when you look at the US economy, which is still doing very well. We had good job figures out of the States. And again, people love looking at the negative headlines. That economy is in not bad shape. We're going to get Chinese figures out at the moment as well, which are going to be still showing growth, and that's okay. Europe is going to have to do still a lot more work to be done in here. But overall, the picture is not as bad as I think some of the overdone news we've had over the past few months would probably lead us to believe.
Just trying to draw some of these threads out for the benefit of operators of serviced office space, Justin. Do you see this as a time of great opportunity for us or a time of real threat because of that uncertainty?
I do see this as a great opportunity. And the opportunity is there because people are worried. People are worried, so therefore, if I'm going to develop my business, am I going to commit to actual investment in more property or do I want flexibility? I want flexibility. If I'm setting up a business, again, I want more flexibility. So it's a periods of nerves that actually this is where the flexible office space really comes into its own and has proven itself in the past. When everyone's going along and it's fine and dandy, people will have the confidence and the pride before a fall to be able to make those investments. When people are worried, that's when people make much sharper decisions. And for having that flexibility, this industry can give you that.
The old saying goes, it's a recession resilience rather than recession proof. We'd all love a recession proof industry, but recession resilient.
Well, certainly it gives industries the flexibility. Now, I know for my own business, when during the downturns, we've been able to use the flexibility of office space to adjust as necessary in the weaker times as well as the stronger times. That's great news. And as now the industry has developed so much, there's so many variations, not just in the Southeast, but frankly throughout the United Kingdom. This has now given industry great breadth. Now, tag that to the increase in the number of new businesses that we've had. This year is probably going to see a slight slump in that. But compared to where we were 10 years ago, Britain's fundamentally changed. We are setting up more businesses than ever before. Now, the death rate's still significant, but those businesses need flexibility. And a key part of that flexibility for them, a lot of them, is going to be their office and development space.
You see that continuing, notwithstanding the exit from Europe?
Yes, that's certainly going to be the case. Let's look at the worst side. Let's assume that Brexit actually turns more negative, that actually we're not seeing as much inward investment coming in and as a weaker situation. In which case, companies will have to adjust their cost base. They will then need to have more flexible office space. They will need to downscale and adjust. There will still be new businesses coming through as well, in which case they will need to go to flexible office space because they won't have the strength to be able to go to anything permanent as yet. So the downside, I still think, is relatively positive. If you think actually the upside is there in terms of actually they can start developing the economy quite quickly, then I think there's some very positive signs there.
A lot of people have been sort of berating the position with the UK coming out. But of course, the flip side might be the crumbling of the EU itself, and there's been quite a lot of speculation about that. What's your own feeling about that? Is the EU going to survive without Britain?
The EU will survive, but the EU is going to change. And we know the EU is going to change because its major players, which includes us at the moment still, they want it to change, and particularly Germany. And so Germany needs to see that change, as do other nations like Denmark, like mostly the northern nations as much as anything else. So there will be change coming through because it cannot carry on as before. So I think this is actually, our exit or proposed exit may well be the catalyst to actually see that change come through. There's another catalyst, which is governments are now in a position where you're seeing more than 25% of nations around the world with negative interest rates. If ever there was a position now to actually say, step forward and say, actually, we're not only in a position of actually borrowing more money, but actually we are being paid to borrow more money, that's a time when governments can get on the front foot and quite legitimately say that actually they could start really significant investment programs, which Britain needs to do, particularly with regard to its infrastructure. So maybe we see a change in dynamic economic policy over the next few months too.
As a final question, just looking outside the dynamics of Brexit in Europe, we've got Trump and Clinton on the horizon. Is that going to have a bigger impact than even the Brexit situation? Could that really tip things in one direction or another?
Again, this year is going to be astonishing if we look back at it and what happened in 2016, all the things really none of us would have predicted. And who would have predicted Trump getting this far? I know from where we sit at the moment, it looks as though Hillary is going to take it. No matter how unpopular she is, he appears to be making himself even more unpopular. But who knows at the moment? But if he, for whatever reason, he does start gathering momentum again, that could cause some very serious concerns, I think, in the American economy. But don't underestimate the strength of that economy at the moment. Even at the end of this growth cycle, it's still creating more than 200,000 jobs a month. Okay, the previous month that we had was a bit weaker, but underlying this has still been pretty strong. So I'm quite encouraged by that. So low-cost money, in a position where actually the economy is doing quite well, with good employment and the consumer in America in a better position than ever before, well, despite what the president's going to be doing, America's looking in quite good shape.
Justin, great to end on that positive note. Thank you very much indeed for joining me this week.
Thank you, Richard.
That's all for this edition of Landmark Video News. Please join us again.